So all the different ways you can void are, you can slip, another way you can void is by ducking or rolling. Another way you can void is by pulling. And another way we can do it is with a hip rotation. I could shift from bladed to squared or from squared to bladed, using the tempo of my hips to turn and get my body out of the way. When it comes to whether we slip, roll, or pull, this is very simple. If I thrust at you, you slip because the range you're in right now, you're able to slip because my tip is in front of you. So I thrust and you slip. Now, since you're past my tip, obviously I'm not going to thrust again because it's going to take all that time to get back and forward. So logically, they're going to throw a cut. If I throw a horizontal cut, then you can just roll under these horizontal cuts or duck under them. And if I throw a diagonal cut, you would pull. If I throw my thrust, you slip. If I throw a horizontal cut, you roll. And if I throw a diagonal cut, you would pull. So when it comes to what attacks and what angles the player should be throwing against someone trying to slip, roll, pull, or close, or whatever. So I know that if you're in the range of thrusting, I'm going to try and thrust you, which you would try to slip. If you've gotten past my tip, then I have no choice but to cut, and usually it's going to be a horizontal cut because that's the fastest, right? Now you can roll a horizontal cut. So if I want to stop your attacks, once you get close and past my point, the best move for me to throw would be a diagonal cut. The reason is diagonal attacks are really hard to slip because they're going diagonal. You can't really roll them because they're going diagonal, so you can only pull. But now, if I've thrusted and you're past my tip and you're this close, I know you're going to roll the horizontal attack. So what I would do from here is I would throw a diagonal cut because you cannot get out of range in time by pulling. If I throw this diagonal cut, you're still going to get hit. Okay? So if someone is too close, then you're going to throw a diagonal attack because there's only one thing they can do. And that's if I throw my thrust, say you slipped, and I throw the diagonal attack this way, you have to go at an angle to make my diagonal attack have a longer time of reaching you and go past me. And continue past. That way I cannot get you. Okay? So what this tells us is, depending on the range, tells us the angle we're going to throw. Now if you take your mask off, same thing with boxing. Go ahead and come forward. If I throw a jab, you're going to slip. Okay? And you'll slip that way because we're southpaw. Okay? Which now, since you got past my jab, I could throw across, but I would have to go across my body, which isn't great. So they're probably going to throw a hook, in which case you would roll. Okay, now after you threw my hook, you're still too close for me to be able to jab, so odds are they're going to throw an uppercut, in which case you would just roll back. Now you're back at the point of a straight punch, okay, and my left hip is loaded, so odds are they're going to throw the cross, in which case you could just slip. And they're almost always going to throw the opposite side that's loaded. So if I threw my cross, my left hip is forward, which means my right hip is back. So I'm not going to be able to throw that straight punch. I'm going to end up throwing a curved punch in which you would roll. This is why so often it becomes slip, then they throw a hook, roll, and then pull for the uppercut. And that's the logical order. So same thing in sword fighting. If you're far away, I'm going to be stabbing, you can slip. You get to that closer, a little bit closer range, then you're going to be ended up able to duck under stuff. If you're too close, you wouldn't pull, you would have to continue. But if you're still at that same range of these horizontal cuts. That's why normally I don't really like horizontal cuts as much, because you can just duck under them.
Oui.
Good.
But they do have their place. But I prefer the diagonal cuts if I do throw them because they clear so much space. So one drill that I like to do for this is first I just have them starting with their slips. He's going to slip my shots and try and touch my back. So we're here and start nice and good and slow so that they can get those good mechanics down. And he wants to touch my back, not the front of me. Good. Once he touches my back, that does not mean that the drill ends, however, because he needs to get out safely. So even though he touches my back, I'm still going to throw shots. Boom, and I'm still going to try and hit him, okay? Next, you start having him roll the cuts, okay? So you're throwing these horizontal cuts, boom, and they are trying to touch your back. He gets the back, I'm still throwing my cuts, okay? Then we start working on throwing straight shots for him to slip and shots for him to roll. So now he doesn't know if I'm going to throw a straight shot or a horizontal cut. But with what we've just covered, he does know, because he knows once he's past my tip that it's going to be a horizontal attack that happens. Boom, boom. Good. Okay. Next up, we're going to start adding in the pulls. If I throw a diagonal cut, he's going to pull. So I might go here, he might slip, and then I might throw this diagonal cut, so he might try and pull. And I can still throw my horizontal cuts. Good. And now he knows that if he's too close and I throw that diagonal attack, then he's going to continue past me. Just like that.